I'm talking to the fucking guy, Rob fucking Hahn.
Yeah.
Who was on this podcast telling agents to forge their signature,
Yes,
their client signature on a agreement,
right?
Because that was just ridiculous that anybody had to sign up to get to look at stuff,
right?
And now the same Rob Hahn is now saying to me, we need to protect this, and there's got to be more obstacles for them to see this data.
I would submit to you if somebody shows up in person to a house that is a legitimate consumer.
Okay, but again, the criterion there,
again,
I mean, just
like, that's a legitimate
that in your
consumer.
head for a fucking second, right? I mean, this is Industry Relations, a podcast at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective. Sponsored by Cotality. Stay tuned to learn more with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your host, the notorious ROB, and as always, my amazing co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson, everyone.
Thank you, Rob.
That was quite good. And we specifically said we're not going to get heavy. I didn't want to be here because I want you to tell all of us, how was the trip?
It was a great trip, Rob.
Uh-huh.
We went to the Highlands, saw some woolly hairy coos, some bangers and mash.
Now, given your last name, is there a family ancestral connection to Scotland?
Yes, of course. The Robertsons of the Highland, the Roberts of the Highland, of course. No, it's funny. We had we had taken a trip 2 years ago to the UK, and then we went up Scotland because of that kind of connection. And this time it was my brother-in-law, Paul Dixon. He works over at Zome, so in the industry. It's his 50th birthday, so we wanted to get kind of a golf trip. So it was in Scotland and in Ireland. So we had it was 2 golf courses in Scotland and 3 golf courses in Ireland. So we went to the number 2 golf course in the world, which was the Royal Dornoch in Scotland, which was great. And then the oldest golf course in Ireland. Yeah. Also, right? So it was I'm sure golf aficionados would know the names of these places. Royal Dublin, Dornoch, and of course I had to walk every course there. I was telling other people it's not like normally here where you can just get a cart, right? They call them buggies over there. And when I was there the first time, they were getting after me. I was asking because I had no idea. I went to Carnoustie in Scotland, and one of the guys goes, "Oh, you like a buggy? Are you disabled, son? Are you elderly? Normally we have the buggies for the disabled and the elderly." Yeah, he had a 10-minute spiel, and you knew that every time any American came there, they were just and everybody was laughing, and I was egging it on, but I tell you honestly, the trip was exhausting, man. We went, it's just one of those things every day was something, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I've heard Scotland is absolutely beautiful, especially in the summer,
Oh, it's an amazing country. I've never been to Ireland. I had spent 3 nights in Dublin, which was great. So it was just Jen and I with the other couples. So it was great. It was good to come back and see the kids. I was there.
Wow.
I was in Dublin.
Wow. So
morning,
jet lag is a thing for you right now, a little bit.
Well, no, I tried to. I stayed up all day yesterday, 23 hours, so that when I got home, which was about 8:00 or 7:30. That when I went to bed, it would be,
all right, well, let's not have you collapse while we're doing this and that. But I really do want to make it out to Scotland, before it becomes the Islamic Republic of Scotland. So I do want to get out there before Sonny's not allowed to go without a burqa, So, well, New York's going to become the communist,
New York? I thought
People's
York
Republic.
That,
but in any event,
okay. All right.
So have you been able to keep in touch with a little bit of the stateside news? Yeah.
A little bit. I kind of saw some of the article headlines you were writing, and then I saw
a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, we're still waiting on like the formal legal thing. This was just a letter to the judge, so yeah.
Right, exactly. And I thought they had some really it's like, I think when you said this before, it's like anytime you read something well done by somebody, it's like
I literally
you're switching
just
sides every time you read
this
the next
morning.
guy's thing, right?
Obviously by the time people see this, because this will go out next week, it's Friday when recording, and I just published the Northwest MLS reply. Their motion to dismiss is a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty. So I'm gonna let's talk about that next week, maybe. Because.
Well, that's what happens when your CEO's a lawyer.
Yeah,
right?
I don't.
He knows what to do or who to call.
Credit is
right?
due to the three lawyers who drafted
Justin?
the thing. I would imagine, but man, that's how you're supposed to write a legal brief. By the end of it, I'm like, well, of course. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Yeah, exactly. Look, I fully expect Compass to come out with I gotta read reply, it now. At the end of that, like, oh yeah, I mean, of course, given that, like, duh, it's a no duh. That's what you want to see. You want to see competent lawyers going at it for their clients, and then, the truth will somehow be right in the middle of that. But that is not what we want to discuss today, because you haven't had a chance to look at any of that. I thought we might talk about something. I wrote about it, but it's. I feel like you and I are potentially uniquely qualified to have this discussion, which was, and I doubt you've read it, but there was a Wired article, and I literally said Wired. I totally forgotten that magazine existed, but there was a Wired article that had come out, and a reader sent it to me, and it's basically about this new phenomenon among younger people. We're talking college students, recent graduates, where they would look up the homes, like the family homes the kids they went to school with, right? So I'm willing to bet this happens to Cole, right? Who's at NYU, right? Where because college student directories, right. Like they'll have like a lot of times there'll be home addresses, of the other students, right? Because you want to be able to like maybe write them, or visit them over the summer or something. I kind of remember this at Yale. We had it 30 years ago, whatever. So these kids would use Zillow to look up where their classmates grew up and then figure out how wealthy they are, right? And then since then, so after graduating, there was a big story in Wired. Yeah.
But okay. But I mean, that was the whole thing about the Zestimate when it came out, is like, it was like for nosy neighbors, right? That was a main thing about the Zestimate, was like you could finally see what your neighbor's house was with, or your cousin's house, or whatever else. I mean, that was the big draw.
I mean, that's the interesting thing. Like, that's not what Zillow would say, right? Zillow wouldn't say the Zestimate is for voyeuristic purpose. They would say it's for, educating consumers about home values, right, or potential home values. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be. I think they understand there's a bit of voyeurism for their site. I don't think they.
Sure.
I don't think they would. Sure. They would deny that. I mean, at all. I think that voyeurism is what made them. What makes them today, right? I mean, they're I hate to say this, 4.5 million homes sold in the U.S.
4 million.
How many million reals?
Right. 227 million.
What's the traffic?
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah.
And there's a little bit of a delta there, right?
We've kind of heard about and known about. But like I said, I'd always sort of assumed when I saw that 227 million number, or whatever it is, right, that it was the dreamers, right? What I like to call dreamers, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, dreamers are part of that, but there's no.
Well, so that's the interesting part of this, right? So that was like college kids looking up, their classmates and their parents' houses, and and be like, oh, I look where he grew up, look where she grew up. They're from money, or they're not. They're from a middle class family, whatever, right?
Well, I mean, but isn't that something that's probably been going on since it was Parents' Day and people rode up in a BMW, a Honda, or or something else, right? I mean, it's that type of like. Trying to figure out what the other guy's got is like, it's inherently, I think, it's
just human nature. That's totally fine. My point simply is that this Wired article specifically zoomed in on Zillow and its role for making all of this possible. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that's just college kids doing that. And then after they graduate, there was a big story about some like 27-year-old woman living in DC, right? Who anytime they would like go visit a friend's apartment or whatever, they would look it up on Zillow and try and figure out, okay, if you're paying this much in rent or this much in mortgage, you must be making this kind of money, and do that sort of comparison thing or something, right?
Or getting help or something, yeah.
And it's like, so that whole story made me change my mind, basically, on data availability, okay?
Well, hold on. Now, where is, like, because I know there's some states that have, like Texas, non-disclosure states, right? So that there's a little bit of this that some states have said we don't want it to. They don't want to kind of publish what the home was sold for.
Yeah.
Right.
The interesting thing about non-disclosure states, though, is the whole premise of non-disclosure was they don't want to send to the taxing authorities. So you can actually, especially using VOW, go see what those homes are worth. Right? You can still get price, history and so on and so forth. But here's the larger point, right? And I put this out, and the responses have been very interesting. And there's one angle of it that I think is worth discussing. Basically, what I put out was, given this, it's not clear to me that we should sort of, some of the data that the MLS has maybe should not be to the public internet. In other words, take it out of the IDX feed, right? And I thought it's a simple solution. It's right.
Yeah,
correct.
They do that now, right?
Correct. So I said, I think we should move days on market, price change history, and the interior photos to the VOW feed. Okay. Starting with those three, and there may be other things as well, right?
Okay.
Right. Price.
Okay, hold on. Let's see that again. Days history. On market, interior photos.
Move that all to VOW, out of IDX.
History.
Okay. And again, there may be other things as well.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Because what I thought about it is like, okay, the whole premise of why the MLS, why the industry, right, collaborates with and makes all this data available to the portals, to IDX websites, to everything, right, is to allow consumers to get information, right? Like if I'm looking to buy a house, I don't want to have to go to 17 different brokerage websites, right? I want to be able to go to one place, whether it's a broker's IDX website or Zillow or Redfin or wherever. Yeah. I want to be able to go to one place and see, oh, here are the homes that are for sale. Here's what they're asking. Here's like find out information about those properties, right? So I could quickly filter through and say, okay, well, I'm gonna, whatever, and do the narrow the search until I can get to, maybe a dozen homes in this area, and I'm gonna call realtor, or I'll use, the contact the realtor button, and I'll go see them, tour them, whatever, right? And then ultimately get to, hey, we're gonna put an offer in on this place. Like that's why we, the industry, provide this data, to websites, to brokerages, right? What I'm saying is, if it turns out most of the traffic, most of the viewers on the internet are not actual consumers, they're not in the market, they're not looking to say, hey, what homes are for sale? That's not what's going on. If that's true, we have no interest in making that information available to them, right? And in fact, I was arguing that I think we actually have an interest in not making that information available to them in order to protect some small privacy concern of the homeowners and the sellers. Right. So I put that argument out there. Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you're not saying, unlike, some of the things that's going on now, no. You're not saying just exclude that or hide that.
I'm saying
you're just saying it's under another layer.
Okay. Now, here's where things get interesting. This is a topic I thought we're sort of uniquely qualified to talk about, I think, which is the entire premise of the VOW when it was first sort of promulgated, right, back in 2006, I think it was. And this was through the Department of Justice settlement with NAR, right? The premise was that this is a broker-consumer relationship, right? And the way that the whole thing works is, look, brokers have to be able to deliver brokerage services, right, over the internet through a virtual office, right? Because what was happening is NAR and the MLS were having these rules that said you have to have a physical office or brokerages could withhold listings from. They were stifling new business models.
They were stifling new business models.
So the premise was you have to be able to deliver broker services online through a virtual office, right? So the wrinkle to it then was, in order for you to deliver brokerage services, the user has to be some sort of a consumer, right? So I think, correct.
Yeah. There's got to be a relationship between
that's a client. Like you have a written, client representation agreement.
Right.
It would be a buyer broker.
Well, nowadays it would be
it could be a listing agreement, right?
I mean,
like as long as I have a client relationship. So this is common. People sell their house to buy a new one, right? I think as long as I have a listing agreement signed, I'm a client of that brokerage. They could probably help me out if I'm looking to buy whatever. But anyway, so on one extreme would be a signed written representation agreement. On the other extreme would be no agreement whatsoever, just nothing, right? Just random internet visitor, right? What VOW policy tried to go was, look, in between you have this broker-consumer relationship. It's not a broker-client relationship, broker-consumer relationship, never really defined. And the way they said back in 2004 was, look, you have to be able to you have to register with the website, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was defined to be a registration.
Minimally, you have to register on the website, right, to form the broker
registration on your
relationship,
website,
right? Okay. Yeah. What actually Robert Revkin is the one who brought up this comment. It's like that no longer matters in the mobile app age. And I was like, I never thought of that, right? Because obviously when you download a mobile app, you're doing it through a logged in, like through my iStore or whatever, the App Store account, which has my Apple user ID. Store. So every mobile app is registered, right? And so it would meet the VOW definition, except.
Well, no, because in the App Store, they don't famously. A lot of times they won't share the registration. That's Apple's in a lot of trouble.
Okay, interesting. Interesting.
They're fighting.
So, but that was the point that was brought up.
So, yeah. It might be different on the Google side, but when you I mean, we're in the middle of doing this stuff with Tuesday, right? It's like when you're using the App Store, there's a lot of great things.
Yeah.
They take the credit cards, they can subscribe, unsubscribe, automatic updates happen, all that kind of cool stuff. But in one sense, I don't really have a direct relationship with my customer, so therefore in the app I have to kind of come up with ways of really finding out who they are, right? So
maybe that's the answer then. So
that might be different for other apps,
but it did raise the issue of in 2025 with technology where things are, right? And frankly, like registration in 2004 is kind of a big deal. Like I did not register on websites. I didn't trust them. You know what I mean? It was this brand new thing. 20 years later, I think it's just a normal given. Like how many registrations, how many passwords do you have? It's
not even normal. It's not even normal. I mean, built into your software, like on my Mac, there's a feature that I could just put in a rando email address, that'll hide me so that I could just do whatever I want to do without having to have creating another account, right? So there's built into like operating systems are a way of generating random. At the same time,
like, do you have a password app?
Email addresses for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
but literally, we have apps now to manage the thousands of passwords that we have because we register on thousands of websites. So, I think the interesting conversation is, all right, given that technology, what should be required for VOW to establish this broker-consumer relationship? And the background idea there is, look, as an industry, we have a lot of interest. And this is where things get into CCP and, private listings and all that. I'm like, but that's, in a way, it's noise, right? I think we have a lot of interest in making sure that legitimate consumers have information. Okay? Legitimate consumers and their representatives should have more information, not less, so that they can make a good decision. Okay? What we don't have an interest in is providing the information to random ass voyeurs. Okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
So
I figured it would be a fun conversation.
Many problems. Yeah. So, I mean, again, anybody can make a Mickey Mouse at Gmail. I mean, there's 1,000 different ways of getting.
Sure.
If it's just the registration right now of doing that, it's built into operating systems now. So that's the registration thing is not a hurdle, really, right? When you say legitimate consumer,
that's right.
Let me put that in quotes. I'm doing air quotes for those guys listening. I mean, I just look at myself. I am not in the market for a new Volkswagen Beetle. I'm not thinking of buying one, but I like to keep abridged of the market right now. Like, where are the split window ones, or I'm talking about the 55s below, 50 to 57, 1950 to 1957. How the market is on there. So I'm on these sites all the time. Right, I'm looking. I keep, because maybe one day I will. So I don't know if you can really kind of draw a real distinct, yellow line down the field to say you're legitimate and you're not. Can't anybody dream? I mean, there are some. There's always going to be bad actors that are going to be like using it for nefarious purposes. But
so before you move off that, because I actually use that as an example in my post, right? Which is, I am a potential consumer. Right, for Porsches. Right, because I would like to get a Porsche again. Right.
I
am not a legitimate consumer.
We talked about that before.
For Ferraris. I have zero. So when you talk about you stay in touch with you're on these websites, right? Are you on websites for like Lamborghinis?
Well, in my case, I'd be on. I mean, it's probably for you too. I mean, I'm looking at air-cooled vehicles, which would be. VWs, it'd be Porsches, it would be,
right. My point is that you are a legitimate consumer for VW air-cooled buses, okay? You're not...
I'm not thinking of buying one today.
Agreed. But my point is, like, we are...
5 years from now,
same thing with Porsches and me, right? Like, I look, I'm on the mailing list, I register, right? Say, look at the, whatever, certified pre-owned stuff that pops up, and I'm like, I'm not actively in the market.
Yeah,
okay. I'm not immediate like I'm buying a Porsche in the next 3 months. That's what's happening. But I'm interested. Hey, if the right deal comes along, if the right thing pops, I might get into it.
Yeah. How do you distinguish you from a legitimate?
I'm saying I am a legitimate consumer. Right. That's the dreamer.
Okay. So
who's not is the Ferrari fan, and I don't know why would they even come. Right. So I'm just trying to make a distinction, and I understand this is a little bit difficult.
Maybe they're an architectural student. Maybe that's not a consumer. They just loved interior design. Maybe
that's not a consumer.
Well, I mean, they could be. I mean, the other part is, like, think about it now, is there's ads on those things. I think Realtor does the most of this kind of stuff, where they know that you might not be interested in a house, but you might be interested in curtains or all these other things that they throw ads out there, right? So it's kind of made up. They kind of go into it knowing that, it's not all the things they're looking at are just a house to buy, but inspiration or anything else. Okay, I get that. Okay. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Cotality. CoreLogic is now Cotality. Same trusted technology and data, just with a new name that reflects their mission to unify property professionals, strengthen industry relationships, and drive innovation globally. Cotality powers tools you already know and love, like Matrix, the gold standard for MLS systems. There's One Home for agents who want to give their clients a more personalized collaboration experience. MLS Touch keeps you connected to the MLS no matter where you are. Realist gives you the insights to stand out as the local expert and tools to fill your funnel with high-value leads. The new One Homeowner platform keeps you top of mind and delivers value long after the deal is done. Learn more at Cotality.com. Our thanks to Cotality for sponsoring Industry Relations. Second point. Anytime somebody anytime anybody talks to me or starts saying, well, this should be taken away, or we should remove this from here, I just, my spidey sense goes up a little bit, because, I mean, the information wants to be out there.
That's what I'm saying.
Trying to get the genie back in the bottle, that is going to be very difficult to kind of like, I don't agree. To kind of claw back. I think that information, wants to be free, right? And wants to be out there. Anybody that's trying to protect that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that's what Zillow started with, is they wanted everything was protected by the MLS. Nobody had information on that, and then that was the whole thing with Barton was doing. It was all about transparency.
I don't know what to tell you, Greg. I just don't agree, right? So if information wants to be free,
and things like that.
Okay.
Well, Rob, you're
wrong.
I mean, it doesn't have to be agreed.
How eager are you to have your personal medical information available on your LinkedIn profile? Information wants to be free, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so there's stuff like that. Fine, we could talk. Information wants to be free, but fact of the matter is, we actually all kind of want some level of privacy, right?
Yeah, but I mean, again, if you're trying to protect this, it's like, okay, let's say your house isn't going to be on Zillow. Well, all I'm going to do is look at the house to the left of you and the house to the right of you, and I'm going to figure it fucking out. Right?
No, and look,
there's
some of the responses
here
that I got, and it's a really fair point. It's like you're making a big deal out of fucking nothing, because guess what? Home prices are it's public records, it's public information. My response to that, though, is just because the government's going to do it doesn't mean that we should do it, right? So what I'm premising this on, and maybe I'm wrong, and that's why I wanted to have the conversation, right? Which is, look, from an industry standpoint, the reason why we collect all this data, all this listing info, all these photos, and we put it in the MLS to share with one another, right, is to empower the consumer, right? Not to empower voyeurs. That is not the purpose why we're doing this, right?
I'm just, how can you say that voyeur,
right,
because of the 7 years they've been looking at Zillow?
That's the second argument, which is how do we distinguish between somebody who is not a consumer, right, and is just doing it for fucking whatever entertainment purposes, some other ulterior motive, right?
Well, it's
versus
a vision board,
a legitimate
it's inspiration,
consumer.
It's whatever it is. Yeah,
that is the challenge. Right. But I'm saying, as a high-level general matter, I think we can all agree. And I frankly think most of the industry would agree, yes, we want to have this information available to consumers, even if they're dreamers, even if they're like, and that's what I thought about Zillow, right? That the 227 million monthly uniques. I thought these were like young couples, sitting on their couch, and they're like, they're not ready to buy, but boy, they're sitting there dreaming, right? Hey, what do you think about, would you love to live, like, let's get something like that one day. I thought that's what it was. I did not think.
Well, I think
I don't know.
But don't you think that's a large
I don't know,
part
but
of
what I'm saying is if
dreaming?
This Wired magazine is like, no, these are now like college kids looking up homes to try and figure out how rich their friends are.
Yeah,
okay.
But that's been
my
going
point
on,
is,
like I said,
that doesn't mean we have to participate in that.
So everybody, once they go pick up their kids at school, they turn their cars
do whatever the fuck you want.
And go to a rental car and pick up a
do whatever the hell you
Honda,
want. My point is,
so that
why
nobody
are we
else
the
can...
MLS? Why are we the real estate industry helping that? Why are we taking part in it? Is my point. There's no motive for us to do that. Our motive.
Yeah, but you could probably find every edge case in the world.
Okay.
Like, well, I mean, this has been one forever. It's like we always talk about, like, these virtual walkthroughs. Well, now you're giving the killer a direct path to get to my kids, my kid's bedroom, right? I mean that's a lot worse.
I'm saying
think,
that should be in the
than the argument you're making, right? Yeah, I mean, but again, I'm saying if it's in the VOW, it's built into your fucking operating system to put in a fake address to get into it anyway. Right,
Greg,
so it's who
Greg,
cares?
My point is, I think
it's not going to stop anything.
So the conversation goes like this: number one, we have no interest in some of this information being just open to the public. Okay, and again, from the industry standpoint, we don't really have a huge interest, right, in random ass voyeurs. That's like, if I were selling my house, I'm not like hiring a listing agent and saying, hey, can you make sure that you put this in front of as many random ass viewers as you possibly can? I mean, I have no interest in that. My interest is, hey, help me sell this house. Put this in front of as many buyers as you can, or potential buyers. I mean, unless you're just like hosting tours of your private home to the random public.
No. It's well, you don't know the difference. This is a classic kind of sales slogan or a slogan in advertising. I think I think advertising. I think the way that the saying goes is advertising works 50% of the time.
Yeah.
I just wish I knew which 50% worked, right? And that's a little bit of what's going on here. It's like it's hard to parse out. And if you think that it's going to by creating a fake email address is going to stop the need, they're going to, because they have to generate a fake email address, it's going to stop voyeurs from putting that in. That's crazy talk. Of course they're going to just do that, right? So there's
unless
the end result here is not
Greg,
going to.
And so you're just continually keeping with the current. My point is, unless we require more. So the step goes like this. Number one, we don't have an interest in just sharing information with the random public. Okay, we should share it with the consumer.
I think that's legitimate to have because you don't know who in the
might be, but like I said, how do we distinguish? So my point is, our interest is in marketing to. It's. I get it.
It's hard again. Which part of
you got to keep in mind? I didn't say let's get rid of IDX. I said let's move some of the data to VOW. Right, so IDX could still have a photo and the price and whatever, to kind of tempt people. And if they want to know more, they click, do something, okay? And that's the conversation. Do something to say I'm in the market, and then now you can have all the rest of the data, right? So there's that piece, and then the real kicker is that final piece, which is how do we distinguish between somebody who's a random ass voyeur and a legitimate consumer, even if that legitimate consumer is just dreaming, 5 years from now, I would like to buy this house. I would like to buy a house like this. I want to keep track of the market. I just want to know if I'm looking for a 4-bedroom house in Huntington Beach, like what's the price range at, right? And I want, to me, that's a legitimate consumer, okay? Somebody, like Cole's buddy saying, I need to look up Greg's house so I could see how much money his family has. That is not a legitimate consumer, right?
Okay, so what
I don't know. So that's why I want to tell. We've agreed. Email registration in 2025 is not. It's not a thing. You know what I mean? It's not sufficient. Signed representation agreement is too much. What could we use to establish this notion that you are a legitimate consumer?
Yeah, when you just said that, it just reminded me of this. It's like I'm talking to the fucking guy.
Yeah.
Rob fucking Hahn, who was on this podcast telling agents to forge their signature,
right,
their client signature on a agreement because that was just ridiculous that anybody had to sign up to get to look at stuff, right? And now the same Rob Hahn is now saying to me, we need to protect this, and there's got to be more.
I would submit to you, somebody
to
shows up in person to a house that is a legitimate consumer. But that's a legitimate consumer.
The criterion there, I mean,
it's just a legitimate consumer.
Hold that in your head for a fucking second, right?
Barriers in the legitimate consumer's way, right, to make it harder for them to tour home. I'm like, just fucking ignore it. Yeah, you're right. I have said that. What I'm asking is, how do you know someone's a legitimate consumer?
Yeah, I mean it's separating.
So here's where I've gotten to.
Chaff, right? I mean,
so here's where I've gotten to, man.
Lead management.
Here's where I've gotten to. At a minimum,
nurturing.
At a minimum, if somebody is willing to speak to a real estate agent, that is a legitimate consumer, right?
Okay.
At a minimum, and when he speaks no, we're not really ready now. We're just looking, right? That's a legitimate consumer. If they're not even willing to speak to an agent, I'm not sure I could call that a legitimate consumer now.
But I mean, isn't there a little bit of and maybe you did this? I think probably. I bought my first house before all this shit was in the air, but there's a time when I'm not ready to talk to somebody until
that's the problem, right? That's the problem I have with what I just said. Right?
Looked around. It's so I'm not legitimate, but okay, now it's okay, I got a bonus. I just got married. We're going to have a kid. I got to right now. So, but I've been looking all the time because one day I'm either dreaming or whatever I'm going to do.
And I don't know either. So like I said,
those
right.
Those
exactly.
Two
That's too much.
You want proof of funds? I mean, that's
so I don't know.
Ridiculous.
I was thinking about my experience selling men's clothing at Bergdorf Goodman, right? Obviously, it is open to the public. You know what I mean? Like, we have clothes hanging on the racks, right? It's open to the public. But, and then, when people are browsing, you go up to, and it's very typical, right? And we were trained not to say, can I help you? Because the answer would inevitably be no. Right? You never approach somebody in a retail store and say, can I help you? Because the answer is no, or I'm just looking, right? That's always the case. So it's like, feel free to look, right? But there is a point where, and you have to somehow figure out, like, are they really legitimate consumer? Are they really in here potentially? Here's what I will say. If you could get them to a dressing room, that is absolutely legitimate consumer. You should close that sale. Do you know what I mean? So there's a difference between looking on the shelf and trying it on. Right? I don't know how to capture that.
Right. Yeah, well, I think I would say this is that
Okay.
there is already something like that happening right now.
Okay.
And that's called lead capturing, right? The equivalent online of somebody that's more, again, you don't know how. There's a lot of people coming in your store. How do you know the real ones from whatever? You can't tell by looking at them sometimes. I mean, that's what they say about the car lot guys. The guy who looks like he can't afford it is definitely the guy that can buy 7 cars. The guy that comes in all
and I've had that experience. I've had a woman walk in who looked homeless. So nobody would talk to her. I went up and I was, talked to her very friendly, and she didn't buy anything, but her son, the Wall Street banker, did. So I know. Yeah.
Right. So again, you go back to this thing of like, you're getting so many people in the top of the funnel. The Zillow sites have the lead capture form. They have the ability of like doing saved. I think if you're more likely to save properties or like properties or set up save searches and things, those all kind of take those voyeurs, right? And then whittle them down to down the funnel, right? But the way you get at those guys is that you open it up to everybody, and then and I'm sure they've got people whose full-time jobs. I'm sure they have a floor of people whose full-time job is like, how do I discern all these people here that are legitimate, and then for them the equivalent of going in the dressing room is they click on that fucking request for an appointment, request for showing button.
Up until
and that's been a part of their whole strategy too.
Or say, I want to try this on. Until they do. Is it not fair to go, there's some of this information you don't get to have? And hold on. Let me.
Well, I think because if I remember back in the day,
the key difference here is, it's one thing if you're a retail store, you're selling clothes, right, made by a manufacturer, right? Like Armani makes suits, they ship it to us, and then if we could, I would want to put that jacket on. Literally, everyone walks in through the door because I'm more likely to sell it. With residential real estate, it's a little different, because now we're talking about, unless you're a builder. If you're a builder, you went and built this product, right, to sell. Unless it's somebody's home, right? And they normally wouldn't just let anybody walk in through their home and take a tour, right? They're only doing it because they're trying to sell it, right? And so I feel like there is a small, and I don't mean like what Refkin talks about, the privacy concerns of the rich and famous. I mean just everyday Americans have some level of privacy concern that maybe says, hey, you know what?
Sure.
Until you're ready to click that button, until you do, we're happy to show you these photos. We're happy to try and get you to click that button, but you don't get to find out the rest of this until you do. I mean, is that not fair, is what I'm getting at. I think it is. And then the issue is, what is that thing? Is it just click the button? You have to request you have to become a lead, in other words, before you are a consumer. That's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if you can really, if there's any function or feature or thing that you could do that could discern that. I just think it's too.
But that's my point.
It's just advertising, man.
Right.
I mean, and the nature of advertising is get it
but
out
that's
to
my
as many
point.
people as possible.
I think some of this information,
buyers, those legitimate buyers,
is not simply advertised to get people to click. I think some of this stuff is information that a legitimate buyer needs, right, in order to decide whether they're going to buy it or not. right? So for example, like days on market, just to use one example. Yeah.
Well, okay. Hold on. Before you go, just
it was
three
big ones, but we could expand it based on the idea. But the one I said was days on market, price change history, and interior.
No, but your three were. All right, so that would not solve this Wired magazine problem.
I don't know. Would it? Would it not?
Right. Well, right. I mean, they're looking to find out what the house was sold
for,
or
they want to, right? Or they want to see
estimate is, right? If his estimate.
Oh yeah,
I mean, are you saying take away this estimate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's big. So.
Well,
yeah,
no,
that's definitely never going to happen. Right?
No, hold on.
That's how Zillow made its bones.
Zillow says about Zestimate is they calculate that using millions of data points, public records, blah blah blah. But one of the input is MLS data. Right. So look,
that is the case. They bifurcated it back in November of 2019.
Right. And so all I'm saying is all the MLS has to do is say, hey, no problem, but the AVM that you put on the public site cannot use our data. We are not giving that license. The AVM, right?
Okay, they did that.
The AVM on your VOW
side
through 2019,
so they can do that again,
right? Because that's a legitimate consumer, right?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. But I mean, I think what's going to happen is they're still going to have his estimate up.
Hey man, that's their business, right? Do whatever.
Solve the problem with the Wired magazine.
And they'll generate out of public records data or whatever. That's cool. All I'm saying is you don't do it with our data.
Sure. I mean, again, you're not to split hairs here, but it's not going to solve the problem you're talking about because there's still going to be that information where somebody could go to a place and find out what.
Sure, except then that problem, we are not playing a role in that problem. So when people get pissed off about.
Well, I mean, when people sell their house and it goes to public records data. And we facilitated that transaction. Well, you could say some third order consequence.
If somebody gets pissed off that college kids look up, it's like, hey, but that's not us. We, the real estate industry, had nothing to do with that. Today, no.
Well, we facilitated the transaction for that.
Yeah, but Zillow's getting it out of
that
public
information
records.
To go to the public records, which public records
go complain to your government officials. It wasn't us that sent them the data.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just saying it's not like our hands
simply because you facilitated a sale.
There.
That makes no sense. That's like saying your doctor is responsible if your medical information gets hacked and leaked. That doesn't make any sense. How?
Well, I mean, it could be something that happened. I mean, they could have left the files
I'm saying
out.
Literally, if a hospital decides to start shipping data, right? HIPAA doesn't exist. Start shipping personal medical information to a portal so they could put it next to your profile, like. No, you'd be like, you'd be upset at the hospital. You wouldn't be upset at your doctor, right? So the same thing here, like, not same thing, but that's kind of what I'm saying. Let us as an industry think about this some is all. And what I don't want people to, like, I'm not saying let's hide the data. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's reserve the data for consumers. And the difficult thing is trying to figure out who is a real consumer. Like, I'm admitting that's a difficult thing, right?
Yeah, I mean...
And I'm like...
Yeah.
Right.
So the real challenge here is that. It's not... Yeah.
Right.
Because unless you can do that, then
technology exists where if a homeowner and the listing agent said, hey, I want to show all the photos to the entire public, go for it, right? Like, that exists. We could say, fine, shove all those in there. But the default could be interior photos and floor plans are reserved for consumers in the VOW feed, right? Zillow, Realtor, all these guys, they all have VOW feeds. They all have registration. They all have things. It's not hard.
No, right. and again, some things are left off of it. I mean, that we have things that are not on the
right. So it's like it's not that difficult, right? So we just move it over there and say, listen, if it's a genuine consumer who clicked that button to say, you know what, I'm a lead, cool. Show them all the rest of this, right? Correct. That's what I'm getting.
Again, the trick
is
what's
and that's the really difficult thing. And I'm telling you, it's not that easy. So that's what I wanted to see. Like, okay, don't fight me. If you had to come up with a standard, okay, you consult for MLSs. MLS client says, hey, Greg, we need to give us some ideas. Like, how should we distinguish? Like, how do we say this Right. This is the broker consumer.
A relationship with a realtor. I would register your realtor's name.
Yeah.
This is if I was going to do it that way, it would be please put in your realtor's name here, right? And I would check to make sure that they were a legitimate
broker
realtor
consumer.
with the MLS.
Does it have to be a specific agent, or can it be a brokerage? An agent, okay.
Well, no, I'd probably say an agent. I mean, if you want to talk about it, you're saying, I mean, the idea isn't mine; it's yours, right? You would say that they would have to talk to an agent, right? I mean, so you just memorialize that in there. Now, that could be easily fucking. Of course. Like anything is.
Nothing is foolproof, man. Like we have laws, faked, people break them. Right? But, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it also serves a purpose for these buyer brokers agreements, right? Where if they're registering, and I think there's some products out there. RE Core has something where they're trying to build this buyer database of broker agreements, right? That they have reference to that'll be in some sort of solution there. So yeah, I mean that would be like the way I would start.
I like this so far. All right. So if you want to see this data, right, you need to have be working with a broker, with a realtor, right?
A relationship with a member of the MLS. Yeah.
Do a lookup. If they have none, then what? Then it just goes a lead.
Yeah.
So I'm not working with anyone now.
Well, then they don't.
I mean, obviously, for convenience,
data
would you like to form a relationship with someone? Some shit like that. And Zillow obviously already knows how to do that.
Shit that goes to
brokerage websites probably know how to do lead routing.
Do it now, yeah.
MLS is a public-facing website. They could probably do lead routing. Yeah. So okay, great.
I think that's the way kind of homes.com works, right? So again, if it's your listing, your lead, you're already kind of there, right? Right. So you go on there, and then if you put in I want more information about this, it goes directly to the listing agent, right? So,
with something like a homes thing there. Again, the idea is before you can access some of this information, right? Okay.
Request it from your realtor.
It's not even request
it from the listing agent.
Just, like, do you have a broker relationship? If you do, here you go. Right.
Yeah. If you have that's the way you do it. Well, how about this? Do you have a relationship? Put their information in here.
Okay.
If
and
you
then
do
listing
not,
agent could be like, cool, I will have the relationship with you. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
I will grant you permission to look at this.
Is that so? It's you have to email, obviously, contact information, registration, and name like a realtor. And have the consumer pick.
I mean, well, again, that's just that's your
here.
goal
You know what I mean? Have the consumer say, "Oh, my agent is Joey," right? I like that.
Right.
I like that a lot. Okay.
Well, it's your idea. I mean, just to put a fine point on it, that you said, like, at a minimum, I would require them to have talk to an agent,
or at least be willing.
We're just formalizing that process.
And again, it's difficult. So, okay, so does that help? Okay, so then let's talk about the dreamer. Like you mentioned, right? I'm actually in the market. I'm not ready to buy. I'm not ready to talk to a realtor. I'm not at that point, right? But I'm just keeping tabs.
I just want to look around.
Is the relationship exclusive? In other words, can a consumer say, just name any agent?
No,
right?
No, it's not. No, it can't be. It can't be. No, as further down the funnel, you get more of that exclusive relationship, right? But not at the top. I mean, it's not going to stop. It's not going to solve your problem, because I think the 1,000 Watt guys put out this thing where if there's, 200, or I should say 2 million people with a real estate license, you're only 4 people away from knowing a realtor in the United States, right? So they're going to put Aunt Kathy's name down, right? So it's not going to really solve anything, but because anything can be hacked in a sense, right? But it is an extra layer.
So wait.
Right?
This is an interesting one. Say they go and put Aunt Kathy's name. Are other realtors allowed to market to them? Because it's not exclusive, right?
Sure.
Okay.
It's not exclusive.
Then I think this works, because here's the thing. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect, but if I'm just a random voyeur, right? I just wanted to go look up whatever information and do some weird shit, right? Because I'm not in the market. I'm nowhere near being in the market. Then the prospect that I might be starting to get text messages and phone calls from realtors might be enough to get me not to do that. Right.
Right. Well, it's like, I think, and maybe we can find the link.
Right.
To the skit.
No, I embedded it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're all, like you say, they're in bed and they're with their significant other. Oh God, look at this kitchen and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then it's like somebody clicks the submit. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And it's like, hello, Remax, can I help you?
Exactly.
They're like, ah.
So I do think that maybe
it just shatters the dream.
That alone would be enough to get people to be like, you know what, I'm not ready to raise my hand. I don't need to see that shit that badly. You know what I mean? I'll figure out some other way. Now, here's a question. Do you think the portals would resist? And if so, why?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, it's all about, what are currently the biggest bugaboos in the portal wars going on, especially between Homes.com and everybody else? Traffic.
But they would both
right?
lose traffic.
It's like measuring their dick size, right? I mean, they're all saying, I'm this, I have this many. Well, no, I have this many, and everybody wants to either come up with numbers or make their number bigger,
but
right?
The relative position would remain the same.
No, but that's the argument that the other players play right now. Like realtors, like, well, we don't get as many people coming in. But these are the right.
I know, but this would be a great way of finding out.
They make those kind of arguments right now. It's no. Nobody's going to want less people to their website, Rob. It's not going to happen.
I suppose you're right. I don't know. So what do you think? Do you think this is something that MLS should do? Why not?
No. Absolutely not. I mean, again, I'll say this. There are right now in VOW, when you sign up to on a VOW of information you can't see that you can't see in IDX, you can see in a VOW. If you're talking about should MLSs from time to time look at what's being put out there and decide, well, maybe I should move something that was in VOW into IDX or maybe something that was IDX into VOW, sure. I mean, I think you should always be looking at those kind of things because things change a lot. So I wouldn't say, right away that would be the case, right? But I just don't see, of the three you mentioned, like photos, man, I don't know. I think that's going to limit.
Just keep the exterior.
If you only put one photo up there, that's going to limit traffic. Right. Yeah, I think it's going to limit traffic. To days on market, I guess, if that would be a more of a no-brainer, maybe that's a way of placating this relationship with Compass and stuff, is like it only goes in that way.
Price changes.
And then 3 was what? Price changes. Sure, maybe, right? I mean, those last two are more.
The thing is, I guess what I was thinking about was
one, right?
Trying to make a distinction between information that a legitimate buyer would need. Hold on.
Again, you go anytime you say legitimate buyer, it just blows up in your face, bro.
Versus information that you might want to convert somebody into being interested. In other words, I'm trying to make a distinction between marketing data and research data, if that makes sense, right? Photos is definitely marketing data, and then some of the photos maybe not. I don't know. So that's why I'm saying I would probably leave it. Hold on. I would probably leave photos in the hands of the listing agent to say, okay, this is marketing, this is research, this, you know what I mean? Like, because then they could pick and choose. My client doesn't want interior photos shown, right, on the public, on the IDX. They don't mind sharing it with legitimate buyers, right?
Right.
Like, that's kind of how I'm trying to split that pie. But the ideal really was, like, you think about what information the MLS collects. Some of it is like, dude, this is research data. This is stuff that is really important to a potential buyer and to the buyer agent. But this is not going to get somebody to be like, ooh, look at this house. Do you know what I mean? Like, days on market and price change is one of those things. That a random viewer, who cares? I don't even think you see that. A real buyer absolutely wants to see that. Do you know what I mean? So I was trying to make that distinction, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't. Yeah, it's hard for me to make that distinction, so it just clouds my my kind of thought process.
But I think
a right solution.
I don't know. I wonder if even the portals would resist that much, because all their business model is generating buyer leads, right? So the traffic numbers maybe Wall Street cares about, but I don't. Why do we care? What their Wall Street, like, I don't give a fuck. It's about generating buyer interest and make it easier for consumers. Do that, right? And make that happen all day long through the VOW. And then IDX is strictly just marketing, try and get somebody to be like, well, that's a really pretty house. I wonder how much it costs to click. Hey, do you have a broker consumer relationship? Would you like to form one, kind of thing? I think that's kind of where my mind's at. I suspect this is like one of those conversations that people aren't having and we need to be having. And it potentially underlies a lot of the things around like private listings and clear, like it underlies it, right? To some extent.
It's fascinating to me, Rob, that a guy who said you should have a signature forged for them to go inside the fucking house.
Yeah.
Look in the rooms, see the bathrooms, see all those things. The guy that says that is now saying, no, let's hide the fucking photos.
Well, it's simple. I'm pro-consumer.
You're blowing my mind here, bro.
Somebody showing up for a tour is a consumer. I don't know what to tell you. That is a broker-consumer relationship. I don't want barriers put in their place. I don't want them to not have access to information. Okay. Random ass college student on Zillow is not a consumer.
Okay.
Right? I just don't. So, anyway, I would love to hear what our community thinks about this, because obviously they likely have a bunch of thoughts to this. And then I forgot to ask you, like, if you went into any real estate offices in Scotland or in Ireland and, spoke to them.
Yes, I did. I actually did. I mean, we could maybe talk about that next podcast, but for sure. I did want to make a quick kind of a shout out that on the 28th, July 28th, I'm going to have kind of a prop tech pre-party for Inman here at my office in Costa Mesa. Jan and I's office studio here. So if you're going to Inman in San Diego, come early, come Monday night. I'll put a link in the show notes to join us for a few cocktails. And then I'm actually going to try to ride my bus down to San Diego from here. So if anybody's looking for a ride to get to Inman Connect, they can hop on my 59 VW Volkswagen. And I'll be heading down there sometime late Tuesday morning down to San Diego.
Because how far are you from San Diego?
No, you could fly into John. If you could fly into John,
right,
about 2 hours. Yeah. So fly into Orange County, come to the party. Get a hotel room here. You can either take the train into right downtown San Diego, really close to the hotel, or if you want, I mean, if I got a seat, you can join me in the bus.
I'm debating. All right, we'll talk offline. I'm debating if I'm going to do the bus ride with you. Anyway, hey, so we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your thoughts on this. Again, this is not one of those where Greg and I are pretty uniquely qualified to talk about it, but we don't necessarily have the right answer. What do you think? How do we resolve this broker-consumer relationship issue? With that, welcome back to the States. Great seeing you, and we'll see the rest of y'all next time.
Thanks, man.
Take care, everybody.